Good morning in this beautiful morning, a little chilly. Today we have Dr. Judy Butler with us, and she have a story for us to tell.
Good morning,
To listen to.
everybody. It's nice. Thank you for having me today and letting me be part of your podcast. I want to talk for just a minute about what I do and how I got to what I do. But first, a little about me. I'm a private practice psychotherapist in North Carolina. And I've been counseling people for a really long time. I really enjoy working with senior adults and adult children of aging parents. I counsel and do therapy here. But about 2 years, about a little longer than that, about 3 or 4 years ago, my father had dementia. And through the process of his dementia and his declining health, I became one of the caregivers along with my mother to take care of him. And we had to go through a lot of legal documents and papers to get him into a nursing home so he could get the care that he needed, because my mother, being older, could not really take care of him. And he needed more than I could provide. He needed nursing care, and he needed to be where he could really be cared for. But through that process, one of the things I learned is that to get the Department of Social Services to pay for that, people think Medicare will pay for it. Medicare does not pay for nursing homes. And nursing homes can be very expensive, and my parents were very poor. So what was going to happen was the government was going to take their home to pay for the nursing home. So I had to hire an attorney, and we had to go through a lot of hoops, jump through some hoops to make sure that that did not happen so my parents wouldn't lose their home. But through that process and through all of that, and then my dad died in December, the day after Christmas in 2018, I learned that people don't have all they need in place. People don't understand all the different things that come along with, as we age, what kinds of things we need to have in place before we get to that point. And this is something people don't like to talk about. They don't like to talk about the end of life and death and dying. But I learned that it's important to get a lot of things in order, to have a will, a healthcare power of attorney, a power of attorney, and to get all those documents, not just to have them, but to have it organized. Because people tell me all the time, they're like, oh, I have a will. Well, my parents had a will too, but the problem was they had a will and they had some insurance and they had some different papers all in one drawer in a chest, if you will. But when I got ready to go through and sort it all out, it was a nightmare. I was already tired. I was already overwhelmed. I was stressed, and having to figure all that out after my father passed, I was so sad I could hardly function. So I've decided at that point, if I could help other people get their lives in order and get their end of life plans organized and get them to tell their story, that's so important. People, younger people, don't know about their parents' lives. They don't know how they met necessarily, or why they first fell in love. They don't know about which car they had, what was their first car, or what they did in their lifetimes. What did they enjoy? What did they love? They know them in their later life, but they don't know their early stories. So I collect their stories and I put it all together in this beautiful book for them. And it's called The Guardian's Gift. And so then when they pass, their family has all these things together. So I just like to, my big thing is I want to encourage people to have conversations. What happens is children, adult children, don't like asking their parents these questions about, well, what do you want to happen? Do you want to be cremated, or do you want to be buried? And sometimes religion plays a huge role in that. Sometimes the parents have very firm religious beliefs, and sometimes they don't. but the children don't know those things. So I like to help them work through all those things and have conversations. The earlier, the better. But sometimes the senior adults, the parents don't want to have the conversation because they don't want to talk about their, or they don't want their children to know about things. And so part of it too is for the senior adults, for the parents. Sometimes their children are involved in addictions like alcohol or drugs. And sometimes they, they don't trust their children to take care of things. But there's ways that parents can handle those types of things if they do it early enough. So I have, as an entrepreneur, I have actually created this business in about 2 years. So I know being respectful of what your podcast is all about helping entrepreneurs out there understand. I've built this in 2 years. Now, when you go to build a business, you have to understand it takes a little while, it takes a little money, but it takes an awful lot of energy. And I don't know about you, but it takes a lot of work. People think, oh, I'll just open a store, or I'll just do this, or I'll just do that. Well, it takes a lot. It takes dedication. It takes a vision. You need to know what it is you're going to do. And you have to, as one of our mentors, Pete Vargas, says, you have to have a big, hairy, audacious goal, a BHAG. And you have to really work towards that goal every single day. So I don't know about you and how you have found starting a podcast, if you have, if that fits into your lifestyle or what that's about.
Um, I think that the podcast was something that came along my way. I started my career as entrepreneur at school from a class project, and from there it just has been a discovery after another one. Um, and the podcast was just a natural thing that happened. Actually, after I did Advanced Reach,
Mm-hmm.
I saw so many stories that needed to be told, so many people to learn from, that it was just natural to start. And I
You
learned
know,
so far.
you made a really good point. There's so many people to learn from. One of the things that I see a lot in my therapy office is people don't like to ask for help. They don't like to ask for help with their end of life planning. They don't like to ask for help in their marriages, in their relationships with other people. But when people will pay attention to what others are doing, not in a competitive way, like I got to be better than them or I've got to have more than them, but in a way of how can I learn from them? What do I need to know? What can they teach me? Then you can, oh my gosh, the moon is within your reach. You could actually reach up and grab the moon if you will ask for help.
And that's the thing. Like, as entrepreneurs, we constantly creating, right? And that doesn't mean that if there's something out there that's already that has elements of what the scene that you want to create. It's like engineering. You get the puzzles, you put it together, and then you add your special sauce, and now it's your idea.
That's right. That's right. You do have to put your special sauce on it. But you do
Yeah,
have
that's
to,
what make it yours.
that's what makes it yours. But you do have to be aware, there's a lot more to just starting a business than saying, oh, well, I have this great idea and everybody's going to love it and want it. Uh, that's great. You do have to be positive, but you also have to be practical. So it's
Mhm.
about combining your vision and your ultimate why you want to do something, whatever that something is, with the practical aspects of you do need to know how money works. You do need to know how advertising works. You need to know how making connections in this world works. And when you're not good at one of those things or any of those things, then you may have to hire somebody to help you with that. And again, we'll come back to asking for help or looking around at role models. So I think, you and I met in a group situation where we're both seeking help from others.
Mhm. And that's the thing, like a lot of entrepreneurs, especially money, entrepreneurs are notoriously bad about managing money. Um, uh, they don't know how much they need to spend. They don't know they don't have the organizational skills maybe to keep track of the money. But you need to know enough to know when to delegate.
Yeah.
And you need to do your research, and that's part of your planning of who delegate.
I seem to have
Because you
lost.
to do yours and start your team. Start. Can you hear me?
No, I lost you there for a little bit. You're talking about
So
planning and having a
what?
team and delegating.
Yes, that they need to be able to plan, and they need to able to do the research in order to start building the team. Part of that planning is also thinking about the exit of that business or the life. So what happened with them after they die? What's going to happen to that business?
That's
Right.
exactly right. And that's one of the things that I handle for people is the guardian's gift. We talk to business people who are in business, entrepreneurs and other business people, and I help them figure out how they want to pass their business on, or do they want to close it. And if they do, and in this day and age of technicalities and technical stuff and Zoom and videos and all of that, people have so many passwords and PIN numbers and Facebook and all of those things. What happens to that when somebody passes? So I help people work through that and protecting their passwords and their PIN numbers so accounts can be closed or changed after they pass. I help people look at their finances. So that's part of what I do, is not just for being an entrepreneur, but what happens to that when you pass? Where's your bank account? And where is your savings? Where is your 401k? Who is the beneficiary? If you have a will, is it current and up to date? So I help entrepreneurs actually figure out how they want to pass their business on to their children or other family members, and what that looks like and how it functions.
And that
I lost you again.
amazing. The what that's it. Uh, I was saying that the Guardian Gift, that's an amazing name to your program.
Mm-hmm. It's what, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So, what an amazing right? So you are trusting them as a garden, and you're gifting them what you built.
Mm-hmm.
So that's I love the name. I really do.
So, yeah, people, they want to leave things to their children. Very few people that I have met don't want to leave anything. A lot of people believe they don't have anything to leave to their family members. But when I sit down with them and I talk with them, we always discover there's something that can be left, but sometimes people just don't think that it has any importance or any value. And it may not to them, but it might to their children. Something as simple as a particular pan, roasting pan or pot that mama always cooked her special recipe in. It doesn't really have any monetary value, but it means a lot to her daughter or to her son, because they ate whatever that special dish was that mama always made that made them feel better. Then that becomes very, very valuable. Mama might say, well, it's just an old pot or it's just an old pan. Well, it's not to your children. So it's important to understand that sometimes the value of something is not in dollars. It is in the memories and in the heart of someone. And sometimes we need to be aware of that. And that takes a conversation. That's where I step in and I help people understand the value of some of the things that they are discounting. Um, as business people, we try to figure out, how do we leave our business to our children? Is it viable? Is it functioning? Is it bringing in money? But also, if it's not, then how do we close it down in a really good way?
And and sometimes we discount the value of our ideas,
Mm-hmm.
but there's no such thing as a silly idea. I don't believe that, because the most silly ideas that you can even think about make millions of dollars, especially that little stone in a little box that made like 56 million in 6 months, or that posted that got shelved by 5 years before they actually two geniuses put it together and worked together to make it one of the biggest inventions of all time.
Right.
So you never know. Don't discount your ideas. Keep them, leave it, because you don't know who's going to come and they're going to do something with that. About
Yeah.
Leonardo da Vinci drawing planes when there was no planes around.
Right. Right.
You know.
I mean, a few years ago when I was growing up, I'm going to tell on myself now about my age, but when I was growing up, there were no cell phones. There were no laptop computers. So just in my lifetime, those two things have totally changed the world. And look
Yes.
how many millions and billions of dollars that Apple is worth now, and Google, and everybody has a cell phone. Everybody.
Well, and they say that after the and even on the top generation at least, there's always imagine all the new discovery that's going to come out of all this year 2020.
Yeah.
Because when people are bored, that's when the biggest invasions happen. So I think it's admirable what you're doing, helping others, or you throw in a drawer, forget about them, and organize your business, your life, and make a vault of memories
Yeah.
that you can pass along.
And they
That's
can,
beautiful.
and people can do this online. They can go to theguardiansgift.org. It's the TheGuardiansgift.org, theguardiansgift.org, and they can actually do it themselves online. And it's guided, it's fill in the blank. All you have to do is go there, and you can fill it out, and then you can print it off, and then you put it in a notebook, and you have everything. You have everything that you have all the PIN numbers and passwords and financial information. Now, if you don't have a will and you haven't had conversation with your family about end of life, let me just really urge that you do that. That is so important. And if somebody is very hesitant to talk about it, just take your time and go very slowly. If you need some help, you can contact me. I'm Judy at butlercounselingsolutions.com. Or you can find me through this beautiful lady who's hosting our podcast today. She knows how to get in
Thank you.
touch with me. And so I would love to chat with some of you sometime, and just let me hear from you out there.
And yeah, and we're definitely going to have all the links available in our episodes, and we're gonna have it, so you can be reached, because it's very valuable the service that you're providing. Especially you mentioned dementia in your family. That's a tragedy. It's a tragedy because we lose our memories.
Yeah.
And it's something that happens very often to all of families members when they get old. So you don't want to wait until that time to collect all those memories.
You really don't. This is something, dementia is increasing. The number of people with dementia is increasing daily. I think there's billions around the world, but in the United States, the numbers have really gone up dramatically over the last 5 to 10 years. And you're right, you don't want to wait. If somebody has dementia and they've just been diagnosed, please, please go ahead and start collecting those memories, those stories now, because they will be lost. And then one day, your grandchildren, if you're listening to this, your grandchildren or great grandchildren are going to say, well, what about grandma and grandpa or great grandma or great grandpa? How did they do this? Or why did they do this? You got a huge Hispanic population there in Miami that came from Cuba and Puerto Rico and the different islands. Why did they come to this country? How did they get here? That is important. That is so important. What did they do when they first got here to make a living? How did they make it? And oh my gosh, that gives me cold chills. Those stories are huge. They have helped form this country. And you need to tell those stories and collect those stories.
Yes. That really resonates with me. I actually, my dad, he's struggling with that right now. He has early dementia, and he has such an incredible life that, yeah, those memories need to be saved.
They do need to be saved. They are
Yes.
hugely important. And maybe you know the story, but will your children or grandchildren or your great grandchildren, if you don't save those stories some way, they're not going to know.
Yeah. Yeah. So any additional words, anything that you learn along the way that you want to pass on?
Yeah.
You share. Uh-huh.
I'm an old lady, so if your listeners can't see me, but I'm an old lady, and it depends on what you consider old, I guess. But I got a lot of spunk and a lot of fire.
That's
And
good.
one of the things that people need to understand is never give up on your dream. Never, ever give up on your dream. You have to have the dream first, but don't let anybody dissuade you from actually going forward. If you think that you can, you can. And if you think that you can't, you can't. The only thing stopping you is you.
That's so true. That's so true. I think that's a lot of people are afraid, and they keep self-sabotaging, and they sabotage others because they're afraid. They're afraid for themselves, they're afraid for others, and they just put obstacles on the way, and that's very sad.
It is very sad. And people don't like change. People want things to stay the same. But the only way to move forward is to change and to learn. Never stop learning either.
No. Well, it was incredible to have you with us.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate this opportunity to speak to your listeners. I really do.
Yeah, and you have an open invitation. Uh, say the name of your program again. I think it's so beautiful name. It's a beautiful
It's
name.
the Guardian's Gift, and you can find it at theguardiansgift.org, or you can find it at my website, which is butlercounselingsolutions.com.
That's excellent. I'm going to look for that already.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. You have an open invitation to come to us and tell your story again anytime.
Thank you very much.
Because our story never stops, right? It keeps building up. So we keep learning new things.
That's right.
So there's new ones. So And that's it for today. Let me
Thank you
stop.
so much.